been around. I've been around the wrestling scene. I mean, training wrestling since I was 15, so 13 years now. And I've been overseas. I've learned how it's done properly. I've been taught by a lot of people, so I think I have enough confidence and experience to sort of guide New Zealanders on this path. But the hardest thing will be changing the perception of what wrestling is.
Boom, Aaron joining me from a secret location somewhere in... Are you in New Zealand? You're in New Zealand,
I'm in Auckland now.
Sweet as.
In the apartment lobby. Just I feel weird. I can't work at home.
So did you come back from overseas?
Yeah, so I was actually on holiday in Thailand when all the COVID stuff hit. Then I got called back to Japan, and then they decided they were cancelling the shows. So I was like, so they sent me back home, and then March, I've been here since March, pretty much. Dude, I was here 2 weeks, and then lockdown level 4 hit. So I was like, I went from traveling every single day, touring matches almost every day, to nothing, not allowed out of the house. So.
Wow, that's, I mean, what a chapter for a book one day, bro. If I'd love to come back to what you're doing now, but I guess let's kind of skip. There's a part of that of your life in Japan, but let's kind of skip back further than that. Like, so from Auckland.
Yeah. Born and bred East Auckland, Pamela Hard.
Nice. That's awesome. And what was young Aaron up to? Like, was it clear what you wanted to be when you grew up and stuff like that?
Yeah, man. I still read like all the like essays and stuff we used to write in primary. It was all I always wanted to be a wrestler, bro. Ever since
Is that right?
Me and my cousin were watching it since I was like 3, 4. Used to watch it every like Friday, Saturday night. That used to be our jam, like WCW, WWF. So like, I always wanted to be a wrestler. But in New Zealand, there's not too many wrestling clubs around, and it's always just rugby cricket, touch, all of that stuff. But growing up, I was a real angry kid. Like I had anger management issues.
Right.
Used to go to guidance counselors all the time. My second class was outside the principal's office most of the time. I don't know if that's a common story on there, but I was a real angry kid. But,
yeah, sorry. No, carry on, bro. I'll just remind myself, because it's like sometimes in the podcast, what happens is, we get into these conversations and I forget to say like, and you don't have to share, but have you tried to work out, was it just a built up of energy and like, were you just an energetic person?
I didn't know how to deal with anger. And I think, a part of it, like, I don't want to sound boastful, but a part of it was that, I was too advanced for all the public school system.
Yeah.
And I remember a psychologist coming into school and running a bunch of like psychological tests on me when I was about 7 or 8. And so what he determined was that I was just thinking way too fast. I've always been like that, 100 miles an hour. And the result of that was I was actually given an extra day of advanced schooling. It's an old program. It doesn't exist anymore because the funding dried up, but it's called Gifted Kids Program. It was a program for like advanced students whose the public school system just wasn't working for them, in the sense that it was too easy. So I didn't feel challenged. I felt like everyone else was holding me back. I felt like I was driving at 50 k's per hour and everyone else was going 20 k's per hour in a 50 k speeding zone. But that sort of led on through all the way up until high school, up until I started like freestyle wrestling, like mat wrestling. It wasn't until then when I started like channeling it properly.
Yeah, bro, that's look, is that quite common, bro? Have you met other people who like, because I reckon do you reckon it's probably more common that we're not able to kind of keep up with the kids?
I think it is like, it's not so much keeping up with the kids, but I think people are fast. People are smart. Most people are. I mean, there's a reason why we've created flying machines that go to space. Everyone wants to do it. I think the problem is that they see that they're all above all these other people in terms of like thinking or creativity or passion. But they see everybody down, so they sort of like push themselves back down. And I think I wouldn't call it sheepish. It's just like, it's a way of social cohesion. It's a way to make sure everybody sticks together. Obviously, I've trained in Japan a lot, and they have a saying in Japan: the nail that sticks up gets hammered down. So it's more a way, I think, of just social cohesion, like I said, like making sure everyone's that way. But I could never do the same thing as everybody else. I was the kid that was always like, you guys were crumping last week. Next week, you're going to be shuffling. You're just going to do whatever. I was always like a radical in that sense.
I love that, bro. I'll tell you why I love it, because there's not that many people, and you haven't said anything too out there, but I haven't heard that many people talk about life like that. What I hear a lot of is you've got to fit in. What I hear a lot of, and I've heard a lot of, and people kind of encourage it unconsciously, is security, this idea that, look, just suppress it a bit. You'll be fine. Don't whinge. Don't complain. It'll all work out in the end. And it's kind of a bit of a lie, because we do know now that with suppression, it ends nowhere good. You know, it's a control tactic, and whether that's okay short term, you know, maybe from, let's say, a parent point of view, you got to do what you got to do to keep the life safe until it can flourish. But as a general rule, I think we got trapped in this idea of it works at scale. You know, you can control lots, but the problem is when you look at our ancestry, it wasn't scale. It was these small little intricate tribes, and they thrived on knowing how to, you know, be a nail but flexible. You know, almost like the palm tree. You know, strong as, but it can bend. Yeah.
I mean, I always do the island, the wave. I always tell people, especially in Japan, I'm like, they have what's called the flow state. It's like the whole, just like Bruce Lee, be like water. That's the flow state. And like you said, with the palm tree, that's exactly all of our, Japan's a Pacific country as well. So it's like, we still all share the same cultural roots. This is what I like. I didn't know you were into all of this stuff, bro.
Oh, dude, you know, I suspect most people have been forced to think a bit deeper lately, because once you realize that actually you're the only one who's really got your back and a few around you, there's an illusion that we're safe. Pay your taxes, we're safe. And look, I do agree with that. You know, I like that I can flush the toilet in New Zealand and it does its thing. And I like that there's professionals who make that possible. But there's some foundations that we've outsourced, you know. And so what kind of comes through on the podcast is talking to people who they've owned that for themselves. It's like, I'll make a decision. And I'll tell you, Aaron, it's actually quite strange for me. So I wasn't the kid who was fast at school. I was the kid who was slow. It took me a long time to catch up, and so it's been good in some ways as an adult, because I'm still kind of childish in some ways. I'm curious like a child is, because I think about myself as having lots left in the tank, you know. But where it's been tricky, man, is that there's you know, it seems to be that you're going to struggle somewhere, and if you can kind of get that time right to struggle where you're old enough, not too young, so it kind of, you know, breaks you, I guess, but old enough where you can use it as a bit of a drive, you can push forward. But if you just skip that point like I did, uniquely, because I had these older brothers and sisters who just kind of paved the way. So I was left as this kind of, I got carried along, and then it's like, right, go, see ya. And I was like, oh, what now? And that actually, that's probably why I'm doing the podcast, is to work out how other people sussed. That's right. I love it. Hey. Oh, yep.
Who's that
for TV?
Huh?
It's for TV.
For TV.
I love it. Absolutely.
We just got all the mailboxes got jacked the other day, and my credit cards got stolen.
Oh, true.
Just passed on video. 6:30. They got 6:30 it occurred.
Okay. Thank you.
Forwarded off to the police.
Thank you.
This is like a reality show, brother. That's awesome. Are we good to carry on?
I can't work at home, so.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's beautiful. It's part of this journey, right? Like we said, we're the flexible ones. Bro, so look, we've jumped straight pretty deep into it. I'd like to, we'll take a bit of we'll go to an ad break. And when we come back, Aaron, man, let's just keep going with this because it's really fascinating talking to you. I feel like we're going to work our way into, this deep conversation. So stay with us, folks. Back in just a sec. Sweet. So before the break, it's all on. You had security come up, you got stuff going on, but we're back in the podcast. Look, on that point, Aaron, I mean, do you think you've been preparing yourself for these kind of exact moments where you've got to be able to thrive even when things are thrown at you in real time? That seems to be something that I'm picking up from you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole reason why I think I've made it so far in the wrestling world. It's because I've learned to roll with the punches, but more importantly, I think I've learned to be comfortable wading through the fire, I call it. Like, I'm comfortable feeling uncomfortable sort of thing. I don't know, do we talk about the dojo yet? Go straight into it? Or
let's go into it, bro. Let's go into it.
But so one thing, wrestling, it's the toughest sport. I don't know if you've done wrestling before, if you know any wrestlers, but hands down, since the dawn of time, every single culture has said wrestling is the hardest sport. And I think the main thing it teaches you is adversity, overcoming adversity. You could be upside down, backwards, on your neck, and you have to just keep fighting. And I think that's the main lesson that I learned from wrestling was that. On top of that, it was the whole Japanese cultural foundations that they teach us when we train in Japan. I call it my patch.
Yeah.
It is legitimately a patch, but to get this patch, you need to do 1,000 squats, 200 push-ups, and 200 sit-ups every single day at the dojo. So it's New Japan Pro Wrestling Dojo. It's world famous for being one of the toughest training schools in the world, no matter what sport. But it's not about trying to toughen your body up. It's not about trying to get the biggest muscles. It's about up here and in here. Like, it's about testing your heart. The fighting spirit, they call it. There's a big Japanese painting in the dojo, tokon, and that's Japanese for fighting spirit. If you know anything about the samurai or the martial artists, karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, it's all about that fighting spirit. And I think that's one thing that I became super comfortable, being real uncomfortable, getting hit in the face, doing that stuff. And that's sort of what I'm known for around the world. So, and I think a lot of it, like what we're talking about, a lot of it has to do with like upbringing and our culture. Like, we are pretty like tough people around the world. People know us as the tough island dudes.
Exactly. And like, what about your family? Like, is everyone like you, bro? Like, did everyone go out and try this kind?
They didn't go out. It wasn't until after I made it in Japan that my other family started going out. But my mum, you know what Cook Island women are like, real headstrong, always working, always doing it. So she'll be the main like work ethic thing that I like example. Just about hustle, always working, always staunch, always knows everything.
Yeah, bro. And like, what would you say to go out there and dream big? You know, I guess when you even say the word dream, you've got to then acknowledge that there's the opposite nightmare to that. And one of the things that I think we do a little bit poorly in this modern day is we say you can be anything you want. And I totally agree with that. But that's the risk, right? That not everyone gets there, and it takes well, what does it take from your analysis, bro? Is it grind? Is it luck? Is it a mixture?
Definitely both, but whether you have luck or not, my mentor, Fale, the guy that got me to Japan, he said, you can't lose if you just don't give up. You can maybe lose once, you can lose twice, you can lose 5 times, you can lose 10 times. But if you just keep going until you get it, you just can't lose, you know? And I thought, well, that's true. The one example he used was one of his juniors, I think. Either his junior or the guy just before him. He did the tryout. So wrestling tryouts are one of the hardest things in the world, right? This guy did a tryout 6 times, and he failed 6 times before he tried out the 7th time, and they said, okay, you could come. And that's 7 years, so they do one trial every year. But it's just, I actually said the same to the Raise Up Camp Adair the other day, 2 days ago. That if you just, it's always just after that hurdle. Like it's always at the mountain peak where you could just, everything's easy after that. But a lot of people just, they get to the mountain peak, they can't see over the top, so they just walk back down. I mean, like, come on, you've already done all the work, just do a little more.
Yeah,
CT Fletcher's like, you're already hurting, why not just build some muscle out of
it? Have you stopped to think, or have you heard any reasons why that is like that? I mean, this is the kind of stuff I explore on the podcast, bro. It's like, why do things seem so counterintuitive? It's just before the end when you just about give up, and then it's like that's the test, eh? Will you submit to the unknown?
I mean, there's been cultural stories, there's been mythology throughout the whole of human history. Even, what's his name? Muhammad Ali talked about it. He's like, where are all the most valuable things in the world? You find acres of diamonds underground in the hardest places to find under heaps of million years of soil. It's everywhere. It's about struggle. I don't know if you know much about Nordic mythology, but Odin, Odin, the All-Father. Yep. So he only gained the wisdom because he was willing to do all the hard stuff. He sacrificed himself. He hung himself up. He gouged out his eye. And there's a key, and it's been told throughout every single culture in history, that you have to struggle in order to win at the end of the day. I could think of heaps of examples, but
but I tell you what's coming through, and this is the bit that people forget to say, is that these are the deep stories of our heroes, the ones that earned their way or gave it all up, even in the religious sector too, or myths, or the religious area, which is super confronting for me, because when I set out on this podcast, I thought the world was science based, and I kind of still think it is, but it's directly split for me, where I definitely don't want to say we understand everything, because as soon as you say that, you're basically fake newsing yourself. So I do leave it open, because even if I don't know what I mean, it feels like there's something, even if it's an energy or something like that. I mean, what is it like in Japan, bro, with like their beliefs and stuff? Are they? Yeah, because I don't know too much about Japan.
They're very cultural centric, so none of them really think of themselves as individuals. To them, it's all just one Japanese Yamato people. And if you think about their history in the world wars, they were exactly like that. They were just Yamato, Yamato, Japan, Japan, Japan. Very collective. Unlike Westerners are very like individualized. They think about like myself, my bank account, my household. But and then we from the islands were like sort of in the middle of that. So we know, I have to go out and do a job. I have to get my money. But then we know at the back of our mind, but I have to give all this money to my family. So we're like in the middle of both of these cultures. But it's very collective focused, which I think the world is lacking right now. We're very like singular phone, singular computer, singular car. And then when you're using the car analogy, like everything's like all bunched together. Everyone would probably be better off if we just like shared cars or something. But cars is just one example. But I think we definitely need to recapture that. In terms of the whole religious thing, I don't think it's more like whether God's real or not. I think the problem is that we've moved to a more secular society, and the cultural foundations were all pushed aside. Things that held like social cohesion throughout the last few thousand years. I'm not making a judgment call on either side.
No, bro. But you definitely, if I think of the ritualistic side of when you're wrestling, for example, there's something tying back to these ancient, gladiators and this idea of us kind of singular looking at these marvels, and so I think it's more than entertainment. I think it's simulating hope, what could be.
Not just that. I think of all things, it represents what humanity is, and to me, humanity's the survival people. We're the species of survival. The book I'm reading right now is actually *Sapiens* from Noah Yova, I think his name is. But I'm all into like why are we here right now? We're here because we adapted. We went through adversity, but we still survived. The Europeans went through the ice ages right up the top. They still survived. We came out to the ocean with nothing here but just water and a few scattered islands. We still survived. It's all about just survival. That's what I think.
Yeah, bro. It's awesome.
Human survival spirit.
Yeah, look, and as soon as we say stuff like that, I guess the bit I feel, which is like kind of really tough for me, man, is that there's obviously that survival spirit gets broken, and or it's forgotten that thing is there, because one of the things, I find really challenging to understand is a life not worth living, and this is I think it's given to you. I think that feeling is a gift, and it can be stolen or broken, because clearly it has to be. Otherwise, why would someone, and I guess I don't want to go too far down that, but I try and make these conversations like, look, the answer's somewhere in what we're saying.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I should touch on this, but I think the way, if people come to me for advice on that, so, I mean, we've all been there. I've been there. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pretend like I'm immortal. I've been there. I've almost tripped up. I've almost not made it a few times. But what I tell people is that if you think deeply, and not just think, but if you feel deeply, it's not your body, it's not your mind, it's not your soul telling you to end yourself. But what I think it is it's your mind, your body, and your soul, because you feel it in all three of those things, right? It's them telling you who you are now needs to die in order to become who you want to be. So anyone who comes to me, that's what I say. Surely that's contentious, but people asking me, no, I'm not a quitter. Like I'm not, I mean, we all almost quit. We all almost get there, but most of us are here right now,
That's it, bro.
So that's what I think. It's more about the image. I call it a blueprint. Whatever blueprint you have for yourself is what all of your psychology, all of your thoughts, all of your actions are all going to relate from that blueprint you have from yourself. Change the blueprint, you change how your mind relates to yourself.
Awesome.
That's what I tell people, and that's what I tell my students, people that want to train with me. That's the way I tell it to them.
I love it, bro. I absolutely love it. I love that one of the deepest conversations going on in the South Pacific right now is you in the lobby with people all around you in the chaos of life in real time, and we're delivering. Because for me, this represents, it doesn't matter. We don't need the studio. We don't need the people in our ear telling us what to say. We got this. We got this. We'll go to a quick break, brother. When we get back, I'd love to jump into, the stuff you're doing now. You've just started your own, as a school.
Yeah, academy. Yeah.
Awesome. And just let's go through that story, and then maybe we can jump back to, because we still haven't gone past, you're the student. You were, finding it hard. You've managed to control the Hulk, and we want to revisit all of that stuff. Stay with us. Be back in just a second.
Yeah.
So tell me about this academy. I mean, was this a long plan? Was this a pivot because of COVID?
Kind of both. I always wanted to come back and help build the New Zealand wrestling scene. Obviously, there's no scene here right now. There's no professional scene. You've probably never seen New Zealand wrestling in your life.
I know one person. His name's Guy Pigden. Alex Savage.
One of my cameramen.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. And I know he's been growing a mullet out he could do suplexes, but he's the only guy I know. But now you're the second. Yeah.
So it was in the 70s, man. Wrestling was like the second biggest sport next to rugby. That's what people don't realize.
Wow.
But since the 90s, since the big popularity of The Rock in Austin, wrestling's pretty much died in New Zealand. So I go on tour around the world. I've been to Japan, UK, Mexico, America, Australia. I do all of those places. When we finish tour, the Japanese go back to Japan. The UK guys go back to UK, the Mexicans go back to Mexico, Americans go back to America. I come back to New Zealand and there's no wrestling here. So it's sort of heartbreaking for me. So I've taken it upon myself to try and teach wrestling, teach the scene, try to build up a scene here in New Zealand. One, for the people that want to become a wrestler, so they don't have to chase it around the world like I did. they could just have it right here in New Zealand. And two, wrestling's cool. It's fun. It's fun to watch. You probably watch wrestling when you were a kid. I know probably everybody watching this video watched wrestling when they were a kid. And there's sort of like we're saying, there's that hope. There's that hope in the stories that they watch. Like you see a guy getting slammed on the ground, getting slammed in the ring, but he's still coming up. But that's like, I think that'll help. I mean, with all the like social inequities going on right now, I think for me at least, I should tell people wrestling saved my life. And if I save anyone else's life by what I'm doing now, then it was all worth it.
That's awesome. So what's the journey, bro, of starting your own academy? Because I guess that's the bit that's interesting. It's like we see you in the media now, and it's like, okay, we've started, but there must be plenty of hours of you thinking, oh, jeepers, how's this going to fly?
I think I've been around the wrestling scene. I mean, training wrestling since I was 15, so 13 years now. And I've been overseas. I've learned how it's done properly. I've been taught by a lot of people. So I think I have enough confidence and experience to sort of guide New Zealanders on this path. But the hardest thing would be changing the perception of what wrestling is. What I want, the Kiwis around the world were known as being tough fellas. Like you yourself, you look like you could take a few punches and still take a few slams. But we go to Japan, everyone's like, whoa, Kiwi. Go to UK, oh, you're one of those Kiwi boys. There's most Kiwis stay in New Zealand, so they don't know that everyone's like scared of us. But I mean, if I bring that hard-hitting Kiwi attitude to wrestling, I think we'll really do well. Sure, like you said, like there's the nightmare side of it. We talked about the dreams. There's the nightmare side. Maybe I fail. Maybe I fail. What's the worst that could happen? I honestly don't see, like, if I fail, I've lost a bunch of dollars. Cool. I'm still going to be alive tomorrow. Still going to be wrestling tomorrow. It's like, so it's not really, it's risky, but I mean, life's about living life, right?
Yeah, bro, it sure is, man. And, life's about living life, and part of the burden of that joy is to go after it, eh? And I know it sounds trivial because I'm wrestling with this in my mind myself, like I have big dreams, but I also have been bred to be stable, and so it's a real fight to be like, how much do you project forward, and what metric is success? Like when you look around, plenty of people have the house and the car but for what trade-in, and I guess that's like, it is to what we've been talking about, like dad's Kiwi, mum's Cook Island. So my mum's always like, go son, that's why we did this. And dad's like, hey man, how's the job? You're right. Keep at it. And so I've got this, and I suspect many of us have this kind of tension. But at the end of the day, I guess, was there a time, bro, where you were just like, ever wrestled with something like that, where you're like, I'm not sure, but you ended up just choosing the one that felt right for you? I
think I watched too much Disney when I was growing up. I've always just been follow your heart. On top of the Māori and Cook Island, I'm also Native American. My dad's side's Native American. So it's always about following your heart, follow the winds. But I've found, and I've told everybody, if you have enough self-awareness to just feel what you're feeling and follow that feeling, you can't lose if you do it. If you fail, then you've learned all of these valuable lessons that you could take away. If you win, then you win. Like you could fail at doing what you don't like, so why not just do something that you like as well? So, and the other thing I tell people is, you can sorry, it was just here.
It'll come back. That's how those things work. I promise you. I'm always doing that in the podcast.
I'll turn it off.
No, it's all right, bro. We'll get there. We'll just make a point that come on, subconscious, get it back out. It was the moment of gold.
This is the flip side of always being yes, this
is us, bro. This is us in fight or flight because we're flying. Hey, when you were, growing up and you talked about kind of trying to channel or the rage was it, right? Like the anger you mentioned, or what was the turning point?
I I met one of the uncles. I actually got suspended from school for 5 weeks.
Right.
This guy called me the N-word, and then I didn't see the teacher around the corner, but then I just swung at him, dropped him, and the teacher saw me do it. So from where the teacher was standing, I got suspended. To get back in school, I had to do a old school Māori-style Maurako course, and it was one of the most life-changing mentors that I had. His name's Nick Wiki, one of the uncles from Te Aupōuri up north. So shout out to him. And he took me through Maurako, Taiaha training, and he just taught me about how the old school, like how we used to do it. He was like, the chiefs back in the day, they couldn't just go into every single village and just chop off the other guy's head. You had to think about can we work our harvests together? Can our two tribes live together? What if we team up? What if he's got more men than me? So he was like always thinking like strategic. And then from that, I actually started thinking about other cultures and how they dealt with it. So like I started reading the Chinese Sun Tzu. I don't know if you've heard him, The Art of War. It's like the most famous war book or like strategic book in history. Another one was Miyamoto Musashi, The Book of Five Rings. And it's like the samurai code, like how the samurai used to live their life. And it was just, all of these books had the same sort of themes in it. And it's all about just overcoming yourself, being yourself, knowing thyself. That was a big turning point. And then from there, that's when I enrolled into wrestling, freestyling Greco-Roman and submission, where you wear the little tights in high school.
Yep.
Yeah, from there, I became New Zealand champion. I think I went like 3 years, all the high school years that I did it, I went undefeated. Then from there, I went on to nationals. I won the nationals in freestyle, Greco, and submission for junior and senior, apart from Greco. And then from there, I met Bad Luck Fale, who was a big superstar, intercontinental champion. Tongan guy, 6'4", 140, 150 kilos. One of the toughest guys I've ever met in my life. I started training with him. And he took me to Japan. They taught me the ropes. They taught me how to roll. They taught me how to wrestle. And now I am where I am now. And this is why I wear the patch all the time.
Far out. Oh, just like, that's like 7 books that you just went through. That's, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Because you just kind of, you took us on a time travel, and bro, and I love it because I think what happens is I was picturing all of that stuff and some type of psychedelic experience, where I think you just, took me in there for a little bit. But, so first day in Japan, do you remember, is it captured in your mind?
Bro, like we're talking about the dreams and the nightmares. This was a legitimate dream I had. Like I physically dreamt of the day that I got to the dojo. I put my bags down. The kitchen was there. I had never been there before. I had never been like into start training. The first day I got there was exactly like my dream. Like scary. I dreamt the exact guy that was there and how things were happening. And it was just the first time that all of my like thoughts all married up into reality. And then it was just I was picturing it from 2014, the start of 2014 until September 2016. So 2 whole years I was dreaming. I was going. I actually failed the first time. I did the tryout in 2014. I didn't make it, but I kept just annoying them. Kept sending my CV in. And then eventually they're like, okay, there's a space. You got to come. At the time, I was actually in Florida for WWE at the time. WWE, obviously.
Yeah.
Are you aware of the Bushwhackers?
Yes.
Yeah, old school, old Kiwi guys. They're probably the most well-known Kiwi wrestlers. He invited me to come train at WWE. But in my heart, I knew Japanese strong style was the way I wanted to go with wrestling. For those who don't know what strong style is, in the WWE, if you watch it, they kind of hit you like this, right? In Japan, strong style is about actually connecting. It's about actually hitting them, actual slams. So in Japan, it's still like a sport, whereas in America, it's more entertainment, storyline stuff. So I always like martial arts. I always like couch wrestling. I always like the Japanese wrestlers. So that's where I wanted to go. That's where I decided to go.
Far out. Dude, you got my mind on fire. Let's go to a quick break, and when we come back, Aaron, I think we just carry on, but I'd really like you to, well, one, let's wake that subconscious. What was that missing thought, that bit of gold that got lost? But two, man, like, I guess I imagine us watching maybe or getting sent these clips, and thinking, oh man, that sounds awesome. But what I'm interested in is people that are following their own path is, what are the routines that you build for yourself? What does a morning look like? What does is there certain things you do that you might take for granted, but if we were to add that in every day? So anyways, hold on that thought, brother. Be back in just a sec. Aaron, before the break, we talked a little bit about routines and I mean, how is that for you, bro? What does a standard day look like for you?
Honestly, I tell people this and I think I'm lying, but the people that know me know it's all true. I wake up early in the morning, as early as I can. I train. I always train. I always, either if it's cardio or a lightweight session, I always train. After that, before that, I get 2 meals in. I try and get 2 meals in just to make sure I have the energy, the calories. I train, I do weights. Some days I do Muay Thai. I'm real big on Muay Thai. That's like my hobby. Wrestling's my job. Muay Thai is my hobby.
Wow.
And then usually it's two trainings a day, if not 3. If Richie Hardcore, shout out to Richie Hardcore. If he's feeling like doing the beginners and the advanced class, then I'll do both of those. If not, there's wrestling at night. So weights in the morning and then wrestling and Muay Thai at night every single day. If I'm feeling weak, then I just do one training. But it's a sort of like do or die sort of thing. But when you're talking about habits, it's about creating habits of excellence. Like for me, I can't go a day without training. So COVID lockdown, man, that was one of the biggest challenges in my life.
Really?
Still trying to keep the discipline while not being able to do the discipline things. So the more you do, the more you want to do. The less you do, the less you want to do. It's just habits. But that was challenging. But I'm all good. I came out on top.
Always, bro. Your academy, is it for everybody, or do you have to, like, if you're a 40-year-old guy like me or my 14-year-old son, can we come and join?
It's for everybody. So like everybody's got different goals. Some people that train with me and that signed up, they want to go to Japan. They want to go to America. And we've got the trainers. So I teach the Japanese style. Another guy from the UK, Ringo Ryan, he wrestled for the WWE. He trains the WWE style. Ant Khan, he's a star in Mexico, and he came back here to come train, start the academy. He's actually the director of Warrior Wrestling Academy.
Wow.
So we've got all of these guys that just happen to be, they all come to New Zealand because it's the most beautiful place in the world. And I'll stand by that. I've been around the world and I know New Zealand's the most beautiful place in the world. But yeah, I think we've got to build, it's the only like team in New Zealand where full-time professionals have come back and sort of started giving back. So I think value-wise and productivity, I think we'll do pretty well.
Yeah, awesome.
But yeah, it is for everybody. We've got people at different levels. So people that just want to train like submission wrestling, Greco-Roman, freestyle. And we've got a weights gym as well. We've got squat racks and cardio machines and everything. If you're just there to lose weight, it's all good. If you want to debut, it's all good. But if you want to debut, I go really hard on you. And you have to run up Mount Wellington without stopping.
Wow. I feel like that is, it freaks everyone out, but there's a certain amount of, like, even me, I'm thinking, man, imagine if you could. Sky's the limit, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, is that we're quick to think, oh, I don't want to do that. But it's really an invitation to be like, that's exactly what I want to do. Oh, I'm scared, so I'll carry on for a second. When you think about it, bro, I guess I'm picking up too. It's like you don't want to stop the machine. You got to get up in the morning, even on those days where you're not feeling the fire. I guess you still got to keep the machine rolling. If you're somebody, I guess, who maybe the machine stopped for a wee while, COVID got the best of you, or you're just trying to recalibrate, or, like we're all different. Just some general things you've picked up over the years that can help start light that fire again.
Definitely what the Japanese taught me. Everything the Japanese people do is amazing. Not because they go from 0 to 100 overnight, but what they do is it's all about incremental. It's all about 0.01% change every single day, no matter what. Like if you maybe one day you wake up 10 minutes early and then next day you're an hour late. Just try to go back to 11 minutes. And then just try bit by bit by bit by bit. I didn't get to being able to train twice a day overnight. It took me some training every day since 2013. So it's not. I think everybody in this day and age, especially, everything's quick fix, quick fix, quick fix. I want to lose weight. Okay, 6 weeks shred. We all know the 6 week shred crew. But what those 6 week shred guys, yeah, sure, you'll lose all that weight in 6 weeks, but your body will try and balance it out, and after that 6 weeks your body will try and save all that energy and put it back on. Incremental changes is the one thing that to me it's the best thing of Japanese culture, is all about just little change bit by bit, but consistent. So honestly, one little change, if you're just 0.0001% better than you were yesterday, imagine what you'll be in 100 days, 1,000 days.
Wow. Where can people jump on your website and find the academy and stuff? If
warriorwrestling.co.nz, or it's all over my social medias, Henare NZ.
Yeah. Awesome. And is there plans to get it on TV? And I only asked that because note to the producers down at Aotearoa TV, come on, let's go get some funding and start it local, right? Because that would be epic.
That is like a part of the goals that I wanted, obviously, to build the scene. What they do overseas is touring. So there's tours and TV. In almost every country that has pro wrestling, they have tours and TV. So that's my long-term goal. I know it'll take 5 to 10 years to do, but I mean, I'm only 28, so I got plenty of time left.
That's it.
Plenty of heartbeats left. Plenty of.
Oh man, yeah, bro. Let me get on the ground floor. Come do some commentary. Like even just the aftermatch. Where I come in and just how was that and stuff like that. I'd love to.
What are you doing on October 24th?
Well, I hope I'll be with you because I'm in. I'll bring all the cameras.
So Warrior Wrestling's putting on their first event, and they got me on. They've got me signed up for the wrestling.
Well, look, I'm just going to say it. If you want to, we're going to get Aotearoa TV to come cover this live, and we'll just do it. We're just going to say it because I know Samson, the executive producer, the commissioner down there, he'll be like all over this. So, bro, if the world allows with COVID or whatnot, we're just going to do this. But even if not, you can just keep it small and intimate, man. I'd absolutely love to be part of that story because this excites me, And I think everyone out there too, like this is life in real time. You put yourself with people and guess what, awesome things happen, and it is like that. So Aaron, bro, look, just as we wrap up, I want to thank you for
thank you, bro.
Just paving these new journeys. I kind of think that our great ancestors, they made it a habit to explore the world. And you talked about Disney before. One of the confusing moments I've had, as I watch my little 2-year-old grow, and we've had 70 rounds of Moana every single day, is at the end of Moana there's this kind of slow zoom in and she smiles, it cuts to black, and I keep feeling awkward after it because I'm like, well, where do we cut to, Moana? Today's not working out so great. Yeah. So when I talk to people like yourself, Aaron, who are still trying to find these new ways forward, I feel extremely hopeful because these are like the sequels to that, that we've, and the funny thing about Moana is they talked about the forgotten something. And I feel like we're kind of charged now to find out what's the right balance of the tools needed for the world and its rapid changing form, and to bring these historical things in. Ironically, I think it's about, movement, what you're doing, mindset. I love to think that there's a forgotten piece of knowledge around our Pacific ancestry its calming aspects. I think we think of, you said it, the world thinks of us as warriors, but I've got this kind of saying in my head that we were more than just warriors. We were kind of, I think we have our own ancestry with yoga and breathing, and I can't find it anywhere, so maybe we can talk.
I got a guy. Richie just took us through the breathing exercises, and he said his mate.
Oh, sweet.
I gotta go. So
Okay.
I'm all about that as well. Breathing is key. And come on, we lived on the oceans for day after day. We would have known how to get rid of all that salt in our lungs.
Yeah, bro. Oh, this is so exciting. All right, brother. Well, let's wrap it here. I don't know if you've eaten or showered. You've trained, it looks like, and you've
got the shower.
But yeah, man. Hey, where can people follow you if they want to check out you and just plug the wrestling once again?
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Henare NZ or warriorwrestling.co.nz.
Awesome. Look, here's one high five to one of many chats, hopefully, over our life. I'm privileged to connect with you, and thanks again for joining me and all the audience and sharing that time travel warp. There's much more that we can dive into, and I'm sure we will. But for now, brother, I want to thank you, and we'll catch you soon, eh?
Kia ora, bro. Thank you.